Welcome to the Military Money Manual Podcast, where every episode is all about achieving financial independence in the military faster than before. We believe personal finance shouldn't be boring or intimidating. Building wealth can be simple, and financial freedom is the ultimate financial goal. Now, here's your hosts, Spencer and Jamie.
Today, we're going to be talking about, is completing 20 years to reach military retirement truly worth it? And it's just Jamie here with Brandon Levenger, the Enlisted Money guy. Spencer's on holiday right now, so we're going to let him enjoy some family time and some traveling. And Brandon and I are going to run through this topic. We've had Brandon Levenger on the show, episode 96, 128, and 143. Probably one of the most repeated guests, if not the top one. Brandon, we're really excited to have you back and share your experience as a retiring Army Master Sergeant, the founder of Enlisted Money, to talk about this topic today.
Thanks for having me. Love being on the show. You guys have a lot of great information, and I'm just happy to be able to share a little bit of my story and be helpful to other folks.
So before we jump into it, you can find Brandon at enlistedmoney.com. He's a chartered financial consultant, a military qualified financial planner. And Brandon joined the Army right out of high school and has served over 19 years at this point, with retirement right around the corner next year. He wasn't always good with money, he says, but now his family is debt-free and building wealth. And he established enlistedmoney.com to help enlisted service members avoid his mistakes. He earned his Chartered Financial Consultant, the CHFC designation in 2022, and the MQFP, Military Qualified Financial Planner, in 2023. He received the American College Financial Services Next Gen Financial Professional Award for 2024, and he's spoken at the Mill MoneyCon and loves mentoring other service members on their own financial freedom journey, and he's a good friend of the show. We're very excited to jump into this with you today, Brandon. So before we jump into the benefits of military retirement and whether it's worth it or not, can you just talk a quick recap on what is military retirement for people that don't know what you earn if you make it to 20?
The military retirement really is, the basic premise is you serve 20 years and then you'll get a pension for life. Now, there's a bunch of different types of pensions. Of course, there's the legacy, what a lot of people call like the quote unquote high three. And then there's also now the modernized retirement system, or the blended retirement system as it's usually called. And the basic difference between those is the legacy, you basically 50% of your base pay at 20 years, and the BRS you get 40%, but it's based on the multipliers and all that. Now, there's also differences for the reserves, medical retirements, different things like that. And so there's a whole lot of nuance, and everybody's situation is a little bit different, but that's kind of the basic.
I think sometimes when I talk to non-military family members, they're like, well, like if you get a pension for life and healthcare for life, for active duty, you get GI Bill benefits. That can also be there for veterans as well, plus other veteran discounts and like space available flights and things like that. Why doesn't everyone just stay to 20? You can retire at maybe 38 or 42, depending on when you joined, and then you're like set for life.
There's no doubt about it. It is by far just an immense benefits package, and it is a huge benefit, like compared to anything out there. I mean, really, there is no equivalent. And once you put all the different tax benefits in there, because a lot of states don't tax military retirement now, just have that inflation adjustment every single year. All these different things really add up. And just having the healthcare, I mean, there's just so many different pieces of the benefit, and then all the non-governmental provided benefits. So being able to get veterans discounts, VA programs, and then so many other nonprofits and things like that are out there. So, I mean, there's really just no limit to the amount of benefits you can get. It's not easy to get there, which is why a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get to more of those potential downsides in just a second. You've talked a little bit about some of the intangible benefits of service. Which ones do you think have been the most valuable to you personally as you've evaluated this situation and the decision over the last 2 decades now for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest things for me are just the confidence that I've gotten in myself over the years. Just, you get handed a lot of different things in the military that you would never be asked to do anywhere else. I mean, going to combat zones, being handed millions of dollars of equipment as a young person, all these different things, and really just the expectation of you all around. You tend to kind of rise to that expectation, I guess. And then on top of that, you're like, the military is kind of like just a big giant get along shirt with people from all over the United States. A lot of people that have emigrated, like there's a pathway for people to get citizenship if they join the military. Like there's just so many different people from different backgrounds that I was never exposed to and would never have been exposed to otherwise. But bringing that all together, it really gives me a much greater appreciation for America in general. But then also, like, you just have these people that, like, you just get each other. It's hard to describe, but like, just veterans, just we're with each other, we're for each other, and I've just got friends and great people all across the world that I can rely on if I need to.
I really resonated with the part of your article, and we'll link to your blog post about this in the show notes, where you talked about your hometown and what you were exposed to, or the lack of diversity or diverse thought in your hometown. And then you join the Army and you're exposed to all these different cultures, all these different people. And I really feel that as well. Growing up in the Deep South, I was exposed to a lot, and it's been a good experience in the military to meet so many other people, but all then to come together with a common purpose and a common goal. So I can really see the camaraderie being a strong piece of your decision there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I was the most uncultured person you could have ever had. And that was one thing that I really enjoyed throughout my service, just getting to gain just a worldwide perspective on things. It's been really eye-opening.
You mentioned in the article too, thanks for being vulnerable on sharing this level of detail. Your estimated pension after retirement is going to be $3,200 a month. Is that correct? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, the last time that I ran the calculator. So, yeah.
And so when you put that into an estimated retirement pay alone, you crunched it as almost $1.5 million of the value of that. So there's the potentially pretty strong financial incentive here. And then you talked about some of the non-financial incentive. And then in your article, you even mentioned that your first reenlistment was very money focused. And then the next one was not as much money focused. Where did money play into the decision on the last reenlistment? As you were close to retirement, you're kind of over the hump at that point. Or was it all of those kind of non-financial benefits that you just mentioned a minute ago?
Yeah, and that figure, the $1.5 million or whatnot, that is just if I never got another raise, if I just took that dollar amount. Now I could extrapolate that out and do estimated inflation adjustment. So it's probably really worth several $1 million, not just that. So it is a huge benefit. And you look at that number and it's like, oh wow, that's huge. But yeah, to your point, like as far as like deciding to stay in, the first enlistment, I had an idea. I didn't really have a plan. I still remember getting orders to Germany and I was like, well, no, I'm planning on getting out. Like, how do I decline these? Like all this. And I was just trying to get out of it. But then I had an NCO that was like, hey, like, what's your plan? Like, that's fine. If you want to get out, what's your plan? Well, I'm going to get out. I'm going to go to school. Like, okay, for what? I don't know. I hadn't figured that out yet. Okay, how are you going to pay your bills while you're going through school? This was before, it was post 9/11. This was the old Montgomery GI Bill. So there's no living stipend. And my wife worked at the Home Depot at the time making, I don't know, not much. So yeah, basically like, we kind of need to stay in. We kind of need the Army to like live. Really, that was kind of a punch in the gut, I guess, a little bit, but also kind of propelled me to start paying a little more attention to things. Maybe not as much as I should have. We still made some interesting decisions, and it was a few years before we really got our stuff together. But fast forward, another reenlistment down the road, which was really just, I didn't want to get out while I was in Germany. That critical decision on, hey, do I stay? I was at, I think 11, I think it was right around 11 years in whenever I reenlisted indefinite, or what we call career status program. I almost got out. I was really looking at doing the reserves, something like that. But one, had just spent like 3.5 years in recruiting, telling everybody how awesome the Army was and all that. And maybe maybe I had a little bit of rose-colored glasses on, but also two, just getting to be in and around other people, and you see like the benefits that you get compared to other things. And then also a lot of family. Everybody was like, hey, like, why would you not go ahead and do the rest of your time and get that pension? And so looking at it, it was like, well, hey, that's probably the most, I don't know, responsible decision or the safer decision. And I had a young son at the time. I just really felt like that was probably like I said, the most adulting type decision to make, regardless of where my heart was and what I actually wanted to do. So I reenlisted, and actually I was still thinking like, okay, well, I can get out at 15 because that was whenever Terra was still a thing. So, jokes on me, that went away like, I don't know, like a year or so. I forget exactly. I think it was like 11 months before I could request it. Yeah, that program was discontinued. So like, okay. So anyway, so here I am, almost 20.
Just a quick note from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back to the show. Don't know an IRA from a TSP or an SCRA from a CZTE? Fear not, the Military Money Manual, a practical guide to financial freedom, is here to help. In this concise, no-nonsense guide, our very own Spencer Reese, founder of the popular personal finance site, militarymoneymanual.com, offers invaluable tips and tricks to help service members of all ranks, branches, and bank account levels gain financial independence. Along with laying out the fundamentals of building wealth while serving, the book explains how to take maximum advantage of the unique financial perks available only to service members, whether active duty or reserve, officer, or enlisted. These benefits include special tax-deferred savings plans, preferential bank loans, fee waivers on high-end credit cards, and much, much more. Personal finance is not boring or intimidating. With its candid and accessible tone, this book feels like having a beer with a good and financial savvy friend. So pull up a chair, get comfortable, and learn how to make your military money work for you with the Military Money Manual, a practical guide to financial freedom by Spencer Reese.
The Military Money Manual is available on Amazon, Audible, and my website in hardcover, paperback, ebook, Kindle, and audiobook. Podcast listeners are eligible for a special discount by using promo code PODCAST when they purchase the Military Money Manual on shop.militarymoneymanual.com.
I want to hear a little bit more about the sense of fulfillment and accomplishment that you experienced in the Army. You talked about them giving you a lot of responsibility as a young person. How did that impact who you were when you joined the Army compared to who you are now past 18 years of active duty service?
I think that whenever I first joined, I didn't really know what I was going to. I was getting away from things more or less. Like it was more of an escape, not a concerted decision of like, okay, this is what I want to do. It was just, well, I know I don't want to do this, so this gives me an option. So basically, I didn't want to stay and work whatever a hard labor job or whatnot that was around. Like basically everybody back home works in a factory, works construction, something like that. And I didn't want to go to college because that was like harder high school that I had to pay for, and I didn't like high school. So I did that. And then really, I guess the thing that really shaped me was once I re-enlisted and then kind of like got serious about the Army. Because at first, that first enlistment, I was like, I'm just doing this for a little while. I'm going to get out. I just kept saying that. And so I didn't go to the promotion board, like anything like that. Like I really had pushed that all away. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I don't want anything to do with it. But then whenever I re-enlisted, I was like, oh, okay, I should probably like do like all the things because I might end up, I'm obviously going to stay in a little bit longer. And so I kind of learned from that, like you should play it like you're in it to win it, but then also start working on an exit strategy as well. So, and I hadn't been doing either one. I had kind of done the bare minimum. Not that I was like bad at my job or anything like that. I was always a great technician. I was really good at my job, but I didn't do any of the career stuff. Like I didn't pay attention to any of my evaluations. I didn't pay attention to doing any like Soldier of the Month boards or NCO of the Month boards or any of those cool whiz-bang things. I didn't care about PT, like any of that kind of stuff, those things that are really important for promotions and stuff like that. So once I kind of embraced that and said, okay, cool, like I'm going to go and do everything 100%, then I found higher levels of leadership and I was given a lot of responsibility. Like I can remember whenever we moved our unit from one duty station in Germany to another, like I was literally down there, like in processing the unit to a new post. And I was signed for all the buildings, like getting all the different security requirements. Like I made a lot of the stuff that I was doing, but you do enough of those things over time that you just start gaining a lot of confidence. Like problems that you had before, like don't seem like a big problem anymore. Like, hey, look, I'll just figure it out. Like that's what we do. Like you just, hey, go do this. We've never done that before, so go do it. Like, okay, awesome. Like, so
yeah, I feel that too
over and over again.
The person that Jamie was when I joined ROTC initially at 17 years old, and I was 17 when I signed my first contract with the Air Force and had no idea what I was doing. I'm a much different person than I am now, and I think a lot of that's due to the responsibility I've been given along the way and the training I've been given. And with all the downsides we'll pivot to here in a second, there is a lot of really cool things and experiences that people get through the military that I never would have had I just stayed in my hometown or done 4 years and gone right back. So let's talk about some of those trade-offs though. And again, thanks for being vulnerable on this. What do you feel are some of the things that you sacrificed or that others might sacrifice by staying in to hit 20?
One of the biggest things for me was just over time, and the higher up you go, you have to kind of close off who you are as a person, because you could offend whoever. And as you gain rank and you're going to higher positions, like the target on you increases. And so you just don't feel as safe to just express yourself or have an opinion or any of those kinds of things. Or at least that's been my experience. Maybe it's different for other people. And also too, a lot of the stuff that I really enjoyed my first half of my enlistment, like the deployments and stuff like that. And really, like, it just felt a lot more like a team, like a family, like all those kind of things. And I think part of that is just from the fact that when you deploy, that's the only time that your unit is never going to change. Like, for at least for Army wise, like, you basically about three months prior to the deployment, like, everybody's locked in, like nobody's going anywhere. Everybody just got there, or you've got orders, like, so you're not PCSing. So you have that longer time frame that everybody's there together, and then you go through and you do a lot of training, a lot of stressful stuff together. And those moments like that, like going through stressful things like that with each other, that strengthens those bonds and things like that. Now, the second half of my career, I haven't had any deployments really. I've had some TDY and stuff like that. And so it's been a lot different. I've been in a lot of like strategic units and different special assignments that are more staff oriented and stuff like that. And so it just doesn't feel like you're doing as much, like you're far away from the work. And so that can kind of wear on you over time, especially whenever you go through, you don't have as good of friends. You're maybe a little bit more isolated as a senior leader. Like, there's been units where, like, literally I really just can't hang out with anybody else because I outrank everybody. And so it's like, okay, well, I just go home and just don't have any friends to hang out with. So it does wear on you over time.
We'll turn more positive in a second. I'm definitely would not share this with your recruiting battalion or whatever, that segment. But, then some other things you have in your article are talking about the physical toll, the mental toll, and the strain on your family for moving a bunch. Any other thoughts on those three?
That's the thing that is really difficult. And I've written about these things too. And it is difficult, especially once you have kids, as far as being able to have childcare, and if your spouse wants to have a career and do all those things. There's the majority of the time that my son's been alive, my wife's been a stay-at-home mom, just because the math didn't work out for her to go and work and pay for childcare and stuff like that. And then also too, like, people don't think about, we can't just drop the kid off at grandma and grandpa's because they're across the country or in another country in a lot of ways. Like, we lived in Korea for 2 years, so there was no just dropping people off. And so that can get pretty tough, especially whenever you want to try and keep things going as far as date nights and all those kinds of things. So it's really difficult. And then moving around and all that, it's just there's a lot of little things that add up. It's not like any like one big thing, like, oh, this was terrible or whatnot, but you have a hard time kind of getting into the clique, so to speak, whenever you move somewhere else. And and then once again, like with all the rank differences and stuff like that, it's just worked out to where people that are our age, that have kids our age, a lot of times are like mid-grade officers, and things like that. So we're not allowed to hang out because of rules. So that kind of makes it a little difficult. My wife was running into that too. Like, your husband's an E, whatever. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we can't really hang out because my husband's whatever. So it's like, oh, okay. Well, that's kind of sucky, but all right.
Maybe the Army's a little stricter on that.
I think the Army probably is, because I think the Air Force is a little more lenient. Like, my neighbor in Korea was an Air Force lieutenant colonel, and we got along very, very well. So lots of Yingling, drank on the back porch. So it was a good time, great people. But yeah, because I was like, I don't know. Like, he's like, for us, they encourage that. I was like, okay, well, cool then. So, but.
And one of the other downsides you mentioned is the limited earning potential. And so I want to talk about that in the aspect of you starting the Enlisted Money brand, Enlisted Money guy, Instagram personality, and enlistedmoney.com. And one of the things that you said is the resulting regrets of your personal story are a big reason why this blog exists in the first place. I want people who are brave enough, patriotic enough, and qualified enough to serve to have the ability to serve on their own terms, not because they feel like they have to. So personal finance a little bit. Let's talk about how you help, or how people who are making this decision can think about personal finance in a way that enables them to make a decision and have options instead of being pressured into one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just said it as far as like that's exactly how I feel. I feel like in recruiting, you get to see exactly where people's patriotism ends. Ask them if they would like to serve their country, or if they would like like to let their son or daughter talk to an Army recruiter or a recruiter. You'll find exactly where their patriotism ends very quickly. And so I feel like if you take what the military gives you and you use all of your benefits, then you will forever have a leg up on anybody else. Like I can't imagine any scenario where you would not want to have the benefits of being a veteran on your side. And so I think that that's a really important thing that people need to look at, is like, okay, well, there are a lot of benefits, and you are gonna earn those benefits. Like, the military is gonna get what they need out of you. Like, you're here to do a job for a certain amount of time, and you're gonna get compensated whatever the agreed compensation is at the time. And so you need to make sure you use all that. Like, I wish that I had understood all the different benefits and things that I had when I first came in, so that I would have been in a better position to look at, okay, is this something I really want to do? Or, do I want to take my benefits and go try something else? Also, I wish I would have understood more about the reserves and being able to transfer and do different things back then too. But yeah, I mean, that's one of my things that I kind of carry with me, is like, I really didn't feel it was really fully my choice to stay. Whenever, like that, especially that first enlistment, I kind of felt like I didn't really have much of a choice, and that didn't really feel very good at the time. And it was maybe a little bit of an hit to the ego too, like, oh, well, I don't think I can make it on the outside. Now, looking back, I'm like, well, that's total crap. Like, people do it all the time. Like, most people don't stay in past their first enlistment, and 93% of America does it without ever having served a day in their life. Bottom line, if you're still enjoying it, and like you said, I mean, there's so many cool things that you can do in the military. Like, where else are you going to get to fly in all this crazy aircraft, or drive a tank, or there's so many different things that you get to do that you would never get to do anywhere else. And so as long as you're still enjoying that aspect of it, keep socking away cash for whenever that's no longer true.
Just a quick note from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to the show.
It's no secret Spencer and I are both huge fans of the Thrift Saving Plan, the military's version of the 401k retirement plan. We've both been investing in the TSP for over 14 years and are thrilled to announce we've consolidated all the information you need to know into a new course called the Confident TSP Investing Course.
That's right. The course is a comprehensive guide to navigating the TSP, breaking it down to easy, bite-sized chunks that lay out the basics of the thrift savings plan, the funds available, and the investing strategies so you can build wealth while you serve.
We both know what it's like to be a beginner and to be overwhelmed with all the information that's out there about investing in the TSP. Head over to militarymoneymanual.com/TSP, Tango Sierra Papa, to find our simple breakdown of all you need to know. You get lifetime access, and we'll have a growing library of content. And one of my favorite parts about the course is that for every course we sell, we're going to be donating one to an E4 or below.
Yeah, I love that feature of the course, Jamie. So if you're an officer, an NCO, a senior NCO out there, and you purchase a course, first of all, thank you. And also know that you're helping a fellow service member, a sailor, a soldier, a Marine, an airman, a guardian, a Coast Guardsman, E4 or below, take one step closer to their financial success.
The link's in the show notes, or head over to militarymoneymanual.com/TSP, where you can sign up for the Confident TSP Investing course. Now, back to the show. With the limited earning potential in the military structure, that one of the reasons you started a blog that we mentioned earlier, because there's not a huge opportunity for most service members to go and increase their income other than getting promoted and staying in longer, or figuring out a way for the spouse, if applicable, to go back to work and maybe become a dual income. There's only really a couple things that military families can do, and it's controlling your spending. And most cases, it's going to be housing and cars that are going to be the most expensive things that military family members potentially overspend on. So if someone is doing their best to be reasonable with their spending, and they pick a reasonable house and are overshooting with their house or their car, is it kind of your position that then that those kind of behaviors would give them more options? They're not feeling like they have to stay in because they're stuck financially?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, if I had spent my first deployment, I came back, I was debt free once. And then as soon as we came back, like, immediately financed. I mean, I'm pretty sure I went and maxed a credit card like
That post-deployment.
oh yeah. I mean, it was like the first week I was just there by myself. So I had a brand new, like that. This was when like the smoked glass, like TV stands were a thing and flat screens were still kind of a newish thing. So I had that, had the PlayStation, like all that. And that was it. Like, oh yeah. And the new Razor phone. I don't know if you remember those commercials where they take the phone and they were throwing it into like the side of the car and sticking it. Like, yeah, I had to have one of those too. So, but yeah, I mean, to your point, if you have money saved up and you have that cushion, that it gives you a lot more confidence. And that's where I'm at now is like, well, we're debt free. We've got money saved up and I don't need to stay anymore. I really feel like that dynamic has shifted over time to where in the beginning, I needed the military probably more than the military needed me or equally. And then over time, it's shifted to where the military needs me a lot more than I need the military at this point. I really have that amount of confidence that I could walk away at any point in time and be okay. But that's only come with, like I said, using the benefits, getting my degree, getting help, having my wife. I mean, my wife used the My CAA program to get her degree, and then just saving up money and investing and all that. Like we're in a pretty good spot.
So let me just ask real pointedly to kind of hit this point home at the risk of taking out the stick and beating the dead horse here. Because we know that financial readiness is a big concern for the military and their families, what steps would you talk to someone about who is maybe considering their first reenlistment or maybe their second reenlistment to be prepared financially, whether they retire or not?
I think the main things are to look at your debt to income ratio, make sure that that's healthy, make sure that you've got an emergency fund saved up. And me personally now, if I was going to do this again, I would start saving $100, $200 a month from day one into a separate account that would be my transition fund to be able to transition out of the military and just have that separate cushion to be able to do that. Now for us, I mean, that's what we have now. I mean, I've got that set up. So we've got a little bit of extra cash just for that purpose, but we didn't start that until a couple of years ago, whenever I was really starting to get serious about retirement. And then just avoiding the big mistakes. I mean, like you said, financing really expensive cars at high interest rates, even not at high interest rates, that still puts you in kind of a worse position. So even looking at, because that's the thing, a lot of our pay and things like that, like you don't realize like the tax benefits or all the different benefits that are not included in your taxes or that you would not get somewhere else, like BAH, BAS, a lot of like special duty pays, things like that. You probably don't realize exactly how much of a benefit that is.
So I hear a lot of mixed feelings in the conversation, a lot of excitement over what you've done, a lot of fond memories of the camaraderie and the responsibilities and the tactical wins that you and your team experienced and the responsibilities and the growth that you had. And also maybe a little bit of regrets about staying in or feeling the pressure to stay in, not knowing that you had options or not having the opportunity to fully understand how to set yourself up to have options. And we know that for whether veterans or retirees, your identity after taking off the uniform can be a challenge in that transition. Many retirees struggle with that. So how are you preparing yourself, and any thoughts on your identity shift post-uniform?
I think about this quite a bit, and I've actually explored outside of the military quite a bit. Actually, whenever I was younger, I actually worked at some small engine shops and things like that on the side, and I've always kind of played around with different things outside of the military. I think, like I said before, like I didn't always get all the fulfillment I needed, I guess, but also too, always curious on what else is out there. And whenever I got into doing personal finance and things like that, that was something that I really enjoyed helping my soldiers with after we got out of debt and all that. And so I kind of have leaned into that and done all this stuff on the side. And so I think that's the one thing that's going to help me the most is like, I know what I'm going to after the military. I'm already doing it for the most part. And so I'm kind of at that point where I just need to get this full-time job out of the way so I can do that stuff more because I really like it and people pay me to do things. So I guess that means there is a market for those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, I think it's almost impossible not to tie a big part of your identity to who you are in the military. And I think it can get really difficult to separate that just because you're expected to be a certain kind of way all the time. And there's so many different rules and stipulations and things like that. And I've always kind of done that to where Sergeant Lovinger is one entity, one person, and then Brandon is a whole nother person. I think that has helped me kind of keep that separate. And that's just, I didn't do that deliberately. It was just kind of the way I guess I was brought up in the Army initially. It was like, hey, because my first unit, we all partied together and stuff like that on the weekends and all that. But it was very clear, it was first name basis outside and it was rank, title, position during the work week. And we never let those get mixed up. And so I guess I just kind of carried that all along and always kind of kept that as like a separate thing, like Clark Kent and Superman kind of thing.
So you're now preparing to retire exactly at 20 years rather than extending. You now have done all this introspection and sharing on your journey. And so after all that, to answer our episode's central question, how would you answer? Do you think that 20 years of military service is worth it to earn the retirement?
I think it's really difficult to answer and you won't know until you get there. But overall, I think that it is worth it and it's going to set me and my family up for success long-term, give us a lot of flexibility that we wouldn't have otherwise. But it's taken a lot to get there. And there's always going to be a part of me that wonders what type of person I might have been if I hadn't stayed. But I mean, overall, we won't know until it's all over with whether it was really worth it or not. But most retirees that I've talked to after the fact say, yeah, it was tough getting there, but I'm glad I did it.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Brandon. I know that we both care about financial freedom, financial independence, and giving people options. And I think if you can stay, it's not just a money decision, although that's part of the calculation, but if you can stay to that point where you have a guaranteed inflation-adjusted income for life, you have healthcare for your family for life, that opens up a lot of options for potentially early retirement or taking a part-time job or a lesser paying job that you just really enjoy. Vice having to get out and find the best paying contractor job or whatever the rat race feels like to other people. So that pension, I think, is so unique. Like you mentioned, most companies aren't doing that anymore. The military is in a unique situation. That doesn't mean it's easy. I mean, I'm passing 16 years now in a couple weeks, and I feel a lot of the same conversations that you've had with yourself over the years. I'm well over the hump, way on my way, hopefully down the hill at this point now, but the thought still comes up sometime. So thank you for sharing, Brandon. Thanks for joining us again. What's next for you, and how can our listeners follow the Enlisted Money Guy on your journey over the next couple of years?
As far as what's next for me, really just focusing on getting through the transition into retirement and working in financial services, doing my paraplanning, content writing, things like that. The best place for people to find me is the website, enlistedmoney.com. My newsletter, that's where I pretty much keep everything up to date. I send that out twice a month on the 1st and the 15th. But if you're into Instagram or YouTube, I'm on those too.
All right, Brandon Lovinger, the Enlisted Money Guy, soon to be military retiree and a great friend of the Military Money Manual podcast. Thanks for coming back again. Best of luck to you and your family. Keep us updated if our show and our listeners can support you. Listeners, if you ever need help, Brandon's a good guy and he's a good financial voice of reason and a good asset if you ever need to reach out to him.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Military Money Manual podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions presented here are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views of the DoD or its components. Reference to any commercial products or services does not constitute DoD endorsement of those products or services.